You've heard the story of the brilliant scientist Dr. Jekyll drinking his mind-altering formula and becoming the maniacal Mr. Hyde. What if I told you that each of us is really two different individuals, and it is the two sections of our brain that keep us in check? 6 years ago, I suffered a stroke and can tell you what happens when part of your brain shuts down. While I'd been diagnosed with high blood pressure in my early 20s, I thought I'd be the last person to have a stroke. But someone in the US has a stroke about once every 40 seconds. Stroke also accounts for 1 of every 19 deaths in the US. Child, adult, senior, any one of us could have a stroke. I'm going to tell you about Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor's stroke of insight and how brain function changes during a stroke. Our brain is divided into 2 hemispheres, and they act independently from each other. Almost they have their own personality. Each hemisphere of our brain processes information differently, and because of this, they think about different things and care about different things. Right and left hemisphere. Our right hemisphere processes information in the form of energy taken through our senses, what we see, touch, smell, hear, and taste. With this collected information, it creates a tapestry of sense and feeling. Our left hemisphere organizes this information based on what has happened in our own past and projects that and possibilities about our future. Our left hemisphere thinks in language and identifies us as a solid individual. For example, you can see a red rose and smell its perfume through your right hemisphere. But your left hemisphere reminds you to be careful on touching it, since you've been hurt by a rose's thorns before. Leading up to my stroke, I had been feeling hot to the touch, dizzy, and weak. It reminded me of how I felt with the flu. So I took some medication and went to bed, not realizing that that was actually the start of my stroke. Dr. Taylor explains, like similar to a computer, our right hemisphere functions like a parallel processor, while our left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. The 2 hemispheres do communicate with one another through the corpus callosum, but other than that, the 2 hemispheres are completely separate. In a hemorrhagic stroke, half the brain may be compromised, leading the other half to take over temporarily. A cerebral hemorrhage is when a blood vessel ruptures in the brain. With the blood pooling in the brain is unable to function due to the loss of oxygen or pressure building in the brain area. The brain needs blood rich in oxygen in order to survive. Blood pooling the brain area from the blood vessel rupture will not have this life-giving oxygen. This leads to many problems, which causes the issues that occur during and after a stroke. So think of an inflatable life raft accidentally opening up in your bathroom. If you were oxygen-rich blood, the life draft, as the blood vessel rupture, would make it really difficult to try to get into your bathroom. I suffered 2 hemorrhages in my brain that affected both halves. My brain alternated between one half and the other in order to survive. Dr. Taylor explains that on the morning of her stroke, she witnessed her brain completely deteriorate, and it had no ability to be able to process all the information it was gathering. She says, on the morning of the hemorrhage, I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. I essentially became an infant in a woman's body. Having only one half of your brain function at one time is like having someone different in control. Since our human language centers are controlled on the left side of the brain, an issue with our right hemisphere wouldn't allow us to be able to communicate with other people. In fact, other people may be even frightened of us, depending on how we came across. You are no longer in control of your body. When you want to get out of a chair, you think about it and automatically command your body to do so. What happens when you're no longer in control of your body? When my right brain would take over, I would flash into this hazy fantasy land. And while I thought I was speaking to other people in a normal way, in actuality, all I was doing was talking in gibberish and becoming very excited because they couldn't understand me. According to the American Heart Association, someone in the United States has a stroke about every 40 seconds. And every 4 minutes, someone dies of a stroke. Dr. Taylor says she had found nirvana during her stroke experience, while her bright brain took over and she felt reconnected to the larger universe. She says, I felt enormous and expansive, like a genie just liberated from her body. And my spirit soared free, like a great whale gliding through the sea of silent euphoria. Very different from the busy brain scientist before the stroke. Jill Bolte Taylor feels that all of us, without a stroke, can step into this other persona and connect to a larger universe instead of just remaining an individual. We just have to choose to see the world as it is and enjoy it. This was our stroke of insight.